Om Namo Bhagate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.10, chapter verse 18. Sadhunam Samachitanam Mukunda Charana Esinam Upekshaih Kim Danastambaih Asadbih Asat Ashrayaih Sadhunam Samachitanam Mukunda Charanai Sinam Upekshai Kim Danastambair Asadbir Asad Ashraih Sadhunam Samachitanam Mukunda Charanai Sinam Upekshai Kim Danastambair Asadbir Asad Ashraih. You can try. Sadhunam Samachitanam Sadhunam Samachitanam Mukunda Charanaishinam Shakti Manana Sambai Asalbir Asashan Sadhunam Samachitanam Mukunda Charanaisinam Shakim Danastambai Asalbir Asadashrai Sadhunam Samachitana Mukunda Charanaisinam Shakim Danastambai Asalbir Asadashrai. Matajis. Sadhunam, of saintly persons. Samachitanam, of those who are equal to everyone. Mukunda Charana Esinam, whose only business is to serve Mukunda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who always aspire for that service. Upekshai, neglecting the association. Kim, what? Danastambaich, rich and proud. Asadbech, with the association of undesirable persons. Asat Ashraich, taking shelter of those who are asat or non-devotees. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Saintly persons, sadhus, think of Krishna 24 hours a day. They have no other interest. Why should people neglect the association of such exalted spiritual personalities and try to associate with materialists, taking shelter of non-devotees, most of whom are proud and rich. Report. A sadhu is one who is engaged in devotional service to the Lord without deviation. Bhajante mamananya bhak. Titikshava karunikak suhrida sarvadekina majata shatravah shantak sadavah sandhu bhushanah. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies, he is faithful, he abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.10.18. A sadhu is Suhridak Sarva Dehinam, the friend of everyone. Why then should the rich, instead of associating with sadhus, waste their valuable time in association with other rich men who are averse to spiritual life? Both the poor man and the rich man can take advantage of the Krishna consciousness movement, and here it is advised that everyone do so. There is no profit in avoiding the association of the members of the Krishna consciousness movement. Narottam Das Thakur has said, Satsanga chadi kainu asate vilas, tekarana laiglaye, karma banda pans. If we give up the association of sadhus, saintly persons engaged in Krishna consciousness, and associate with persons seeking sense gratification and accumulating wealth for this purpose, our life is spoiled. The word asat refers to an avaishnava, one who is not a devotee of Krishna, and sat refers to a Vaishnava, Krishna's devotee. One should always seek the association of Vaishnavas and not spoil one's life by mixing with Avaishnavas. In Bhagavad Gita 7.15, the distinction between Vaishnava and Avaishnava is enunciated. Namam dushkrindra muda prapadyante narada mahamaya pahrita jnana kasuram bhavam ashritah. Everyone who is not surrendered to Krishna is a most sinful person, dushkriti, a rascal, muda, and the lowest of men, Naradama. Therefore, one should not avoid the association of Vaishnavas, which is now available all over the world in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sadhunam samachitanam mukunda charanais shrinam upekshai kim danastam vair asadvir asad ashraich. Saintly persons, sadhus, thinks of Krishna 24 hours a day. They have no other interest. Why should people neglect the association of such exalted spiritual personalities and try to associate with materialists taking shelter of non-devotees, most of whom are proud and rich? So in the previous verse, Narada Muni explained to brothers why their position is not good, because they were rich and because of this wealth they were proud. And he said, so because of that, one who is poor is in better condition, because then he is not proud. And having established this position that one is superior to other, which is general statement, as we also heard from His Holiness Bhakti-Vikas Swami, because sometimes we find that poor men can also be proud. So it's a general statement, and after established that one position is better than other, now he here said that actually both this group of people should seek the shelter of saintly persons, sadhus. So after he established differences between two groups, he said actually they are equal because they need association and suggestions and instructions of sadhus. And this can be, of course, confusing. And if we analyze Shastra independently, then many things we will find confusing in Shastras. That's why we need also Guru who will explain us, because sometimes some things will not be so easily understandable, or even we will find contradictions. For example, even in this verse, as I said, he established that they are equal. Then Prabhupada said in the purport that sadhu is one who is engaged in devotional service to the Lord without deviation, and he quotes 9:30 verse, Bhajante mamanya ananya bhak. But this verse, Api Chet Suduracharo, just tell us about persons who had some deviation or who had short deviation. And Prabhupada said these are actually saintly persons who are without deviation engaged in devotional service. So we can also find this confusing air. Or maybe we can find also that Prabhupada in verse by verse translation, it's said Mukunda Charanaishanam, but Mukunda is not mentioned in the verse, it's mentioned Krishna. So a person who tries to understand this knowledge just by reading Shastra and without approaching Guru, it is impossible. Because this knowledge is practical knowledge. Even in material world, we will find sometimes knowledge which will not be able to explain just in books, just by books. If somebody tell you, I read so many books about medicine, I never practice under any experienced doctor. I just read this medical science in the books. So I would like to operate you. You will never allow such person to operate you, no matter how much books that person read, because this is practical knowledge which should be applied under supervision. Or similarly, let's say somebody wants to learn some dance. This is not possible to learn from the books, because this is practical knowledge. So similarly, in these books we have practical knowledge which should be applied, which cannot be understood just by reading books. So sometimes people, devotees who had analytical mind, but who are not so much inclined to apply this knowledge in practical service, in inquiring from gurus and sadhus, they can be very much confused with that. From one point of view, these Prabhupada's purports are even more important than Krishna's words or Krishna's devotee's words by itself, this translation, because they put us in proper perspective. Without purports, it would be impossible to understand. So, as I said, sometimes we are reading these scriptures and we can find some things which are not easily understandable. We can find sometimes things which are, it seems that contradict each other. Actually, this famous poet, Goethe, he glorified Bhagavad Gita, but also he in letters to his friends said, with some verses I'm very much inspired, but some drive me crazy, I cannot understand at all. And we will see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, Najate mriyate va kadachin, he said, soul is never born. Then on another place, in 4th chapter, he said, me and you, Arjun, we are born many times. And this is contradiction, How can say one thing in one chapter, then in another chapter, another verse, another thing. So, or we can also find Prabhupada sometimes, even Prabhupada in purpose. I remember in 4th chapter also, 35 verse in purport, Prabhupada said, So we should understand that we are not different from Krishna. This is one sentence. Then just below that sentence, he said, it's delusion who thinks that he is equal to Krishna. So it's very difficult to understand without living Bhagavata. And yes, sometimes we can be confused. Or as we discussed yesterday, sometimes we will think we have a different experience from Shastra, how to understand Shastra. And like that in Chanakya Pandit said actually that ordinary person, he sees through eyes. Cows see through nose. King sees through spies, through his spies. But the Brahmana, he sees through the Shastra Chakshush, from the eyes of Shastra. And then we can ask ourselves also, are these actually contradictions? Maybe we didn't properly understand. And that's actually the way how to understand things in proper perspective. When Arjun wasn't understand, Krishna said, I spoke this knowledge to Vivaswan many millions years ago. So Arjun asked humbly, how can I understand this? So he didn't say, Krishna, you are talking nonsense. He didn't say, this is contradiction. No, he stayed in the humble state of mind. Even if we see sometimes even these doubts or questioning, sometimes is glorified, Krishna will say in Bhagavad Gita, humbly approach to spiritual master, inquire from him, serve him. But another verse he will say, those who are doubtful, for them there is no happiness either in this life or in the next life. So in one verse he basically glorifying person who inquires. Another said, for him there is no doubt. Yes, and sometimes we can find this confusing. Then we need actually help of Guru. That's why the Guru is needed, because he is living Bhagavata and he can explain us that actually there is no contradiction. Because, for example, for this example with inquiring, person should inquire, but with proper service attitude and with proper humble state of mind. But if person is just doubtful, Prabhupada said in Science About Self-Realization, if one asks a question not with the wish to understand the matter better, but with challenging attitude, then such inquiring or questioning are condemned, are not good. So like that sometimes can be, we can sometimes think this is a contradiction, but when we have practical guidance, then we will see actually that this is vast knowledge like an ocean, and yes, we should also understand that something we cannot understand because we are limited. And this is also one level of understanding. And many other things which seems to look contradictory, they will just be nicely explained by sadhus, by devotees, and by gurus. For all this, of course, we should have broadness of mind. And it is not that these are contradictions. These are just different angles of view. For example, Krishna said, this world is Dukhalayama Shashvatam. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, it's like a mine of salt. Wherever you lick, everywhere is salty. So this world is full of suffering. Like that. So another Acharya Prabodhananda Saraswati, he said, actually I don't see suffering. Here is everything is blissful, because everything is meant for the serving of Krishna. This is Krishna's energy, and we use this Krishna's energy in Krishna's service, everything is bliss. So it's not actually contradiction, it's just different different angles of view, different perspective. And especially in the beginning, we can have so many questions. Once this learned devotee came to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, wanted to understand Shastra from intellectual point of view. And he said, you should approach to this gardener actually, he said. His name, you serve with him, he will explain you essence of Shastra. So like that, it is not just enough reading, we should have service attitude. But in the beginning, we do not approach with proper mentality, and sometimes we can be very much confused. Once Hayagriva Prabhu, just in the beginning, in 60s, came to Prabhupada and asked him, actually what was the situation in the room. Prabhupada was using this typewriter for writing books. So it was on the floor, and it was on the way where Hayagriva wanted to go from one corner of room to another corner of room. So he cleared his path. So with his leg, he removed this typewriter. Prabhupada said, what are you doing? This is spiritual. Typewriter is spiritual. It is used for Krishna's service. Then he said, but my leg is also spiritual. Yeah, because I also use my energy to serve Krishna. So he wanted to understand situation from intellectual point of view. So Prabhupada said, yeah, whatever is used in Krishna's service is spiritual. Typewriter is spiritual, your leg is spiritual, but don't remove spiritual typewriter with your spiritual leg. You will understand this in due course of time. Like that. So, like that, sometimes the time is needed, and service attitude, serving, and going deeper into this knowledge, and deeper and deeper we go, then everything, this mosaic, this picture will be more and more clear. And we should have humble state of mind and understand that ultimately it cannot be 100% clear. Some things which, because we are limited, it is not possible to each and everything understand with intellectual point of view. And this we can see in this verse. So Narada Muni is asking rhetorical question. He said, why should people neglect association of sadhus? Because from this point of view, there is no logical reason why should one reject association of his well-wisher, from his well-wisher. If somebody is your real well-wisher, why should you reject his association? And from that point of view, it's logical, yeah. But it's also, we can say, sometimes, yeah, there is no logical reason why somebody who has broken tooth shouldn't go to the dentist. And from dentist's point of view, there is no reason why you shouldn't come and I will fix. Because, okay, it will be some pain on the way, but ultimately, if you do not do this, it will be more pain in the future. So there is no logical reason. Still, we see that from point of view of people, they avoid sometimes to go to dentists. Some people avoid, because they are just very much like addict to this enjoyment, and then he just see imminent suffering, imminent imminent pain in dentist office, and he refusing and doesn't want to analyze situation that he will suffer even more in the future. So Narada Muni said, actually, yeah, rich man and poor man, they are in same position. They all need treatment of sadhu because they are all sick. And Prabhupada instructed us actually that we should preach to rich and to poor people. It is not that we should choose just one group, because they are all sick. And Prabhupada said in one purport, yes, there is rich men and poor men are in the same position, but problem is because rich man thinks I'm perfectly well. That's the point. So from one perspective there is difference, from another perspective there is no difference between these two groups. So we can ask ourselves, if sadhu is, as Prabhupada said here, Prabhupada quoted this Bhagavatam verse that sadhu is equal to friendly to all living entities, he is equal, then how he can say that one group of people is better in better position than other? But this is all analytical mind from intellectual point of view. When we have a living example of Bhagavatam, then everything becomes very much clear. So yes, it is said in Shastra that Brahmana sees the cow in mode of goodness. Devotees see the Brahmana who is in mode of goodness and cow who is in mode of goodness. He sees with the equal eyes, like elephant who is in the mode of passion, and dog or dog eaters who is in tamoguna. So it is said, but that doesn't mean that he will act on the same way. So they are, from one perspective they are equal, from another perspective they are not equal. One devotee quoted that someone objected him why he has a dog in the apartment. This is not Vaishnava behavior to have dog. He is a filthy animal. Then he quoted Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmagami Hastini. You should have equal eyes to all living entities. But this is just misuse of knowledge. Because yes, they are from one perspective, they are same. From another perspective, it doesn't mean that you should act on the same way. So then how to understand this situation? It's simply that sadhu, devotee, he sees differences, but they do not consider these differences as topmost. You know, topmost is that all these entities are Krishna's sons, Krishna's part and parcels, and that's how see Brahmana or sadhu this situation. It is said also that Shukadeva Goswami was passing by some girls naked, and they were not ashamed because they could see from his eyes that he was like innocent child. So they didn't bother to cover themselves in front of Shukadeva Goswami. But such behavior wouldn't be proper if they act, if in front of them were Vyasadeva. Although Vyasadeva was on the same level, you know, he was self-realized soul, he was Grihasta. Shukadeva wasn't Grihasta. So like that, from one point, they were equal on the high level of consciousness, but from another point, it doesn't mean that we should act in each and every situation equally. We will not put crocodile in our flat, but we want to put a dog, and we want to misuse this knowledge and quote from Shastra like that. So Prabhupada said, he quoted Chanakya, that learned person see every woman as his mother except his own wife, and that's that equal vision. Or it is explained also that, that in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita it is explains that yogi sees pebbles, stones and gold equally. So how is that possible, we can ask ourselves. to have such equal vision, because we tend to not see equally. We get golds that's much more valuable than stones. Of course, temple president here, he will like to take gold and buy stones. He appreciates more stones to build a temple for Krishna. So how is possible to have equal vision for these things which are valuable and which are from not big value? So Shastra and Acharya explains actually that equal vision means that person will see these are Krishna's property. So whether the gold this is Krishna's property, and or whether the stones, this is also Krishna's property. And this is the topmost characteristic which enable him to see equally. When devotee finds in this donation box some bigger notes or some smaller notes, he sees them equally because they are all Krishna's. He will not be excited, oh, here is 500 notes rupee and here is 1 notes rupee. He will see equally. This is all Krishna's. So similarly, gold and pebbles, these are all Krishna's. And then Krishna says in next verse also that even more advanced person will see even different persons equally. So how we can see that Yudhishthir and Duryodhana, how we can see them equally, So then they also explain to us that actually if there is a drama on the stage, so some actors play positive role, some actors play negative role, sometimes they fight with each other, but once they were off the stage, they are friends, they associate together, they are friends. So like that, with the help of Shastra and with the help of Acharyas, we are learning this deep knowledge, and we can understand how this knowledge is sublime. And here in purport, Prabhupada said practical example that in Krishna consciousness there are so many sadhus. He first defines that sadhu. In the verse he defined that sadhu is a person who thinks 24 hours a day on Krishna. And in purport he said, he quotes that sadhu, he is Ajata Shatru, never has enemies, he's peaceful, follows scriptures, and his characteristics are sublime. And he then gives at the end of purpose point that in this Krishna consciousness there are so many sadhus in this movement, and gives people practical solution for their problem. He says, just associate with these sadhus in ISKCON and your problem will be solved. He said many sadhus are in ISKCON. Once Mahamsa Swami was preparing temple for opening in Hyderabad. And it was very difficult day. All devotees work all day and night. They finished job in 2:30 in the morning. So he said, I was so much exhausted that I couldn't even climb the stairs and went into my room. So I just slept. I crashed on the staircase in 2:30 or 3 o'clock. And then I slept during the Mangal Arati time. And then after Mangal Arati, Mataji Palika saw me in the staircase and she said, Prabhupada wants to see you. So he said, I jumped into a shower, quickly took shower and went to Prabhupada. He said Prabhupada was angry, furious. He said, I was looking down to my window, nobody was there on Mangal Arati. He said, Prabhupada, we devotees we slept, we didn't sleep all night, we fell asleep in 2:30. So when he said that, Prabhupada was even more furious. He said, how dare you call yourself devotee? You are just chanting few years, you are serving few years, and you are calling yourself devotee. He said, we devotee slept. We didn't sleep all night. So Prabhupada became very much angry, and then when he was on the verge of crying, Prabhupada said, okay, you have to understand that Goswamis, they never said for themselves that they are devotee. Although they were seeing Krishna practically all the time, they never thought that they are devotees. So Prabhupada pacified him, changed the mood when he saw that he is very much sad and on the verge of crying. So Prabhupada, and yes, sometimes devotee think, who wouldn't like to associate with Prabhupada? Like in this verse it said, who wouldn't like to associate with sadhus? But at the same time, those who were servants of Prabhupada, they also said it was intense. Prabhupada didn't tolerate even one iota of our personal desire, our sense enjoyment. He would cut them, he would correct them. Like in this example, devotees, they didn't sleep 2 hours, but Prabhupada wanted that Mangalarati is held, and we can see from many examples that Prabhupada corrected them. It wasn't easy. But on the long term, those who followed, those who passed the test, they became exalted personalities. That's the benefit of associating with sadhus. Sadhu is like a surgeon, and from one point of view, yeah, it's not easy to go to the dentist, to go to the surgeon, but it's very much needed. And then if one passes this treatment, then everything is bliss, like that. So it's in this lecture I concentrated on these 2 points, that sometimes we can be confused, but we should stay humble, we should seek through eyes of Shastra, and actually there is no contradiction in Shastra. This is just our position, that sometimes it seems to us that there is contradiction, but we should understand we are small and we cannot understand how the dwarf can understand vast ocean. Another point is that from different angles of views things can look differently, but ultimately the sadhus is a person who is equal to everyone. And this topic, if sadhu or Krishna is equal to everyone, is partial, it's very often asked in lectures or even in our scriptures also. Sadhus ask how Krishna is equal to everyone, and devotees are sometimes very poor. Shiva's followers are very much rich. Very often, how to understand that Krishna is equal to everyone, and but with the help of acharyas, with the help of these wonderful purports, in due course of time, with serving attitude, with humble attitude, with lot of service, with lot of reading, everything at the end becomes much and much clearer for us. And this is practical solution for us, that we should always stay humble, with humble state of mind, go through this knowledge, to always think how to apply this knowledge in our practical life, because this is practical knowledge. And when we do so, then this process, we will realize how this process is susukham, always. We will be always happy in Krishna consciousness, blissful, and will not be contradiction, we will not be confused, and like that. So thank you very much. Is there any question or comment? Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that if we give up the association of sadhus, saintly persons engaged in Krishna consciousness and associate with persons seeking sense gratification and accumulating wealth for this purpose, our life is spoiled. So how is our life spoiled if we are... Surely the purpose of life is to be happy and accumulate wealth and look after our families and get an education. Surely that's the most important thing in our lives. Why is our life spoiled if we don't associate with sadhus?
If we give up association of sadhus, saintly person engaged in Krishna consciousness and associate with persons seeking sense gratification and accumulating wealth, for this purpose our life is spoiled.
So I'm saying, how is our life spoiled if we've made our life a success by accumulating wealth and looking after our family and...
So the question is how the life is spoiled if from external point of view sometimes it looks very good, someone is rich, has nice family, bank account or house, how this life is then spoiled. So the question is what is success and what is success in life.
How do we measure if our life is a success or not?
Yeah. The main measure if life is successful or not is if Krishna is pleased. And if this is too distant for, we cannot know, then if Guru is, who is his representative, is pleased. And when Guru is pleased, we will be happy from within. Sometimes it looks that these karmis, these materialists are very much happy. But we know from practical example, when we examine a little more, they are all frustrated. In my position as physician, I never saw even one old man who said life was wonderful. They said, oh, it was full of suffering. Never saw even one person who, I mean, we have such a relationship, confidence is here, we are talking for eyes, person to person. They all say the same. It was horrible. It was suffering, just suffering. And from another point of view, I also have experience with devotees, how one can feign, how he feign that he is happy 20, 30 years. It is impossible to, if he acts just externally. No, he is from internally happy. So this happiness is just one symptom. But actually, the main thing is if person satisfy Krishna and Guru. Guru is more close to us than we can see, actually, like a lakmus paper, this for chemical reactions. So sometimes, yes, people can have wealth, but that doesn't mean they are happy. Very much often they are frustrated like anything. Yesterday we heard this story about this crazy multi-billionaire was so much unhappy person. And these people who are wealthy, if we examine more, if we are in position, and sometimes we can read from newspaper or their biographies, they are suffering like anything. There was one movie in my childhood, I remember that person came to the gatekeeper of the heaven. So the person said, according to your deeds in life, I will show you now 7 days hell and 7 days paradise. So they went to one place, and very soon this person noticed that if he wants to, he just wishes to have nice food, immediately nice food is served to him. If he wished to won in some gambling, immediately he won, everything else is lose. If he wants nice girls, they are immediately there. And very soon became boring for him. There is no excitement if you will always win in gambling or whatever. Very soon became boring. So he said after 7 days, okay, I saw the paradise, can you now show me the hell? And this guy said, how do you mean? This was hell. Because the hell is place where all our wishes are immediately fulfilled. And this wealthy person, they very often have such situation that whatever they want in their life is immediately available. From one point of view, of course, they cannot have health, for example. If destiny is that somebody dies in their family or that they are sick, they cannot have that. But the point is that these rich persons, although very much not approachable because they have gatekeepers and dog keepers and dog keepers and doorkeepers. So very often we cannot see what's behind the external mask. But sometimes Krishna enables us to see details from their life, then we can see they are suffering like anything. And I had such few examples because I'm also in that position of physician. And Gokul Chandra also told me several such stories from Dubai. And they have so much wealth, but immediately when the husband went to toilet, wife started to cry, please could you tell him to do not drink alcohol because he is all the time drank. Or yesterday I read just about how John Lennon hosted Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was on his property, huge property, and they were just seen first 2-3 days. After that they were not practically seen. Then Shyama Sundar said, finally I realized, because I saw who is coming at their house. And they are all coming drug dealers. So where they were taking the drugs in this huge property, they were suffering. So this is also one thing how we should learn to see through eyes of Shastra. Because if we just see with our eyes, it can say, oh, they are living very nicely. But if we are going deeper, then we will understand what actually success is, what's happiness, real happiness, and what does it mean spoil one's life. And we have from our Shastra examples of wealthy kings who spoiled their life. Like Nriga. Nriga was even pious king, not just materialist, but was pious, materialistically pious. But he became lizard. And that's how things are spoiled. Of course, he got finally mercy of Krishna. But there are so many wealthy kings who finished as a low birth, didn't get mercy of Krishna. Prabhupada said for one president that he became dog. He was the most influential person. So like that. That's also mercy of sadhus and Shastra to see through this external level, to see deeper.
Yeah, their life is spoiled because they fail to take advantage of the potential of the human form of life. They waste it for sense gratification, which is available to dogs and hogs, instead of taking advantage of the association of saintly people and learning how better to use the human form of life. In other words, they stay in Maya and they have to take another birth and continue the suffering, more birth, death, disease, old age. So, yeah.
Prabhupada, it is said in this verse, Neha Bikramana Shosti, that the most dangerous is that this even small effort will protect person from the most dangerous thing. Then in Bhagavatam, Prabhupada said that the most dangerous thing, Prabhupada said in one purpose, is actually lower birth of life, and that means spoil life.
You were speaking about the contradictions in the scriptures and the guidance of the spiritual master, which is so. Even we were just, because related to this verse, Samachittanam, Jagannath Babaji Maharaj, when he got just one rupee coin from the very rich man, halfway through, he just sent it back to the servant. On the other hand, we see Srila Prabhupada, he met many rich people, he engaged their wealth in Krishna service. I remember in Detroit or somewhere in the US, when he was negotiating for a for a land or for the temple. So the first thing he asked, so why don't you donate this for the temple? And the person was shocked actually. But Prabhupada was encouraging like that. So he's dealing also. But the point that I'm trying to say is, you have to understand it in proper perspective. Definitely we need the guidance of pure devotees. Otherwise, we cannot understand how one Acharya is doing like this, another Acharya is performing like that. Also another incident I remember when Prabhupada was, in Calcutta, I think there was one, the owner of the glass factory. So when Prabhupada was asking about, so from where do you get the raw materials for the glass? He said that then Prabhupada said that you are a big thief. So Prabhupada was open also, is very clear. At the same time, he wanted to give mercy and rich people, everybody engaged them in Krishna service. So that was very unique contribution to Srila Prabhupada. Although he was not at all attached to rich or poor, he was always giving mercy.
Yeah, once it came just in my mind also. Once practically beggar in Rishikesh came to Prabhupada and gave some money. Prabhupada accepted. And then beggar said, actually my family tried to stop me, but I took it and I came. So Prabhupada gave him later initiation in Bombay. So Prabhupada was engaging all. From another point, he was even in the house of Birla in Bombay. See, he was engaging and poor and rich. I was also thinking about this example of how the most merciful incarnation of God is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he rejected Chota Haridas. Then we can ask ourselves, Chota Haridas just have this thought in mind, but Kala Krishnadas, he did it. So how the most merciful incarnation, even it is said in Kali Yuga that these thoughts are not count, because it's difficult to control mind. What counts as sinful is when somebody engaged in sinful act. And Kala Krishna was engaged and Chaitanya Haridas is not engaged, how we can understand. And for such things we need help of Guru. And because I heard also explanation that actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so merciful to us that he took one of his most intimate servant, Chaitanya Haridas, and just for small mistakes he wanted to teach us how we shouldn't act. And he never actually rejected him. Although he externally looked like that, he never rejected him on spiritual platform. And when we think about Shastra and how deep is this knowledge, then it becomes more and more sweet, and we can think about these intricacies. And when we also got enlightenment from Shastra, from Gurus, then it becomes nectar, and there is no contradiction actually. Once Divya Prabandha Prabhu and Gokul Chandra Prabhu work on this Goloka chart. So they heard, they were working on the Dhanavir Goswami. So they heard that there is some Brahmana, I think Madhva Brahmana, who is very much into it. So they went to him and to maybe got some explanation of some things which were not very much clear. And they went, he was very learning, and he explained them partially. And for another part, he said, this part I cannot understand, but please don't change it. Someone will come in the future who will understand this. And so much faith in Shastra, that Shastra cannot be contradictory, that Shastra is always right. That someone will come in the future and he will understand and explain to us. So these are all examples from which we can learn. So thank you. Something else? Okay.
Prabhuji, I was hoping that if you could share us your personal insights on how do we determine what is good association, especially in terms of our own personal advancement. And well, I wouldn't like to give you too much lead for the kind of a reply we give to this, but just as a small remark, as His Grace Keshvanam Prabhuji time and again making this statement that how if we wish to develop the quality of tolerance, we should associate with those who are intolerant, which is quite an interesting point. It could be dangerous also, no doubt, to seek for the most intolerant association. But the question is that how do we determine what is the best association for our own advancement?
How to seek the best association for our advancement. So sometimes the children of drunkard, they are so much disgusted with behavior of their parents, then they do not drink. But this is exception. Generally, if one associates with drunkards, he will become drunkards. So like that, we should always seek association of those who are more advanced than we are. And it's natural. If one's want to be good footballer, he will not associate with tennis players. He will like to associate with footballers. So similar like that, when we see that someone is chanting nicely, if we want to chant nicely, then it's good that we associate with him. And similarly, when we see whatever devotee has exalted qualities, we should take their association, and then gradually we will also become like. If we have strong desire, Prabhupada said, this iron rod, when it's enough in the fire, then it becomes like a fire. It takes qualities of fire. So like that, whenever we seek exalted devotees, we should associate. And in due course of time, when we are serving, when we are reading, when we are listening this knowledge, gradually we will be able to recognize that it is not that exalted devotees are just those who has danda in heads. We will see exalted devotees even in some ordinary devotees, ordinary householder, matajis or whatever. And that comes with the time to see like that. So thank you very much.